What's up, hockey fans, and welcome to another edition of Just Winging It. This is episode number 18, and by, I guess, birthday standards, our web series that we started back in April can now legally vote. Our 18th guest on this show is the senior sales manager of the Kalamazoo Wings, Jason Kane. Thanks so much for doing this. It's been a long time coming. We wanted to get you on the show because we have a whole array of topics to cover. But first of all, how are you holding up?
Good. A lot of golf, of course, which most people that know me know. That's what I do a lot of nowadays, and luckily, our sport, we're a winter sport, so it kind of lends itself to that. But doing good. Family's good, healthy. Just trying to follow the rules and do what we got to do. So.
I love how you jump right into the golf. I had that as one of our main meaty topics in the middle of the conversation, and we'll get into some golf related conversation. I'm glad you're spending a lot of your time on the course because I have as well. I don't think I've ever golfed this much in my life. This is crazy. This is 5 months since we were basically sent home packing middle of the season, and we've all been working from home since. Have you ever seen anything like this? You've been in sports a long time.
No, I haven't. I've never thought we would. I'm trying to think. So I was a senior in high school during 9/11. I remember that was a big distraction with sports at the time. I remember the baseball games they canceled. I think maybe a weekend series, and that was a big deal. But nothing like this, nothing like where your season's canceled. I remember the news coming out the day of our game on I think it was March 11th. It was a Wednesday game, and Toledo had canceled. And, some of our fans and our staff was discussing, what's next for the K-Wings. And at the time I was like, I just don't see us canceling our weekend games. We got green ice, and of course, how stupid was that, thinking that, we would be playing green ice, and literally 24 hours later, it took me by complete shock. And then March Madness, of course, being canceled. I thought that would never happen, but hey, it's something we all got to deal with now. So, and for us, being in the sports industry and being huge sports fans, pretty much every single one of us, it's hit us pretty hard, so it's difficult.
Yeah, that Thursday, March 12th, I think will be a day that none of us forget, being big sports fans, because everybody canceled. I mean, it was one after another, and then we were the last ones to kind of follow the lead. It was surreal to be a part of. You've been in sports a long time, as I said. How many years has it been, would you say?
Let's see. I started in 2006. So I spent maybe 3 to 4 years outside of sports. So you're looking at, probably close to 10 years, I would say, in the sports industry. My cool story is, though, that I went to Western Michigan. I interned as a K-Wings intern back in 2006, 2007 season. So for me, I kind of came full circle in my sports career. My first job in sports was with the K-Wings, so that was kind of, where I decided this might be, an actual industry that I could get into. I'm a huge sports fan. I'm not, big enough to play, professional sports or anything like that. So, what better to, to join the industry. And actually, when I was a kid, my dream was to open a sports card shop. So if anybody follows the trading card industry, they know that's kind of obsolete at this point. And I have a basement full of thousands of baseball and basketball and football and some hockey. I think my most expensive card may be $150. So it's not the best career move nowadays.
See, I did the sports card collecting the wrong way when I was a kid. I took the cards and I made teams out of them, and then I played little games on my living room floor, and I did the play-by-play of the game as it was happening.
Yeah.
I'd go look at the cards and they're all dented and ripped up, and they just can't even sell them at that point. So I don't know what I was thinking, but you're supposed to collect them, and here I am playing with them, and they're all bent. I was probably 4 or 5.
Yeah, well, it's like the old story that you hear of people that had the Mickey Mantle rookie, and they throw it in their spokes of their bike. Like I think I've been told that story many times from my dad and his brothers. And I used to get a little notebook, and I would get the Beckett, which would tell you how much each card was worth, and I would go through each card that I had, and I would write down the price. And I'm talking like 10 cents for some of these common cards, because I wanted to know, like, my collection's worth like $1,000, when I was like probably 10 to 12 years old at the time. And of course now it's probably worth $100 or something crazy like that. So yeah, not so lucrative, sadly.
Always thinking sales. I love it.
Yeah.
What's the coolest moment? If you had to pick one, it's probably tough to pick one, but since you've worked in sports, maybe something you've experienced that's maybe the most memorable.
Yeah, it is hard to pick. My first full-time job after my internship with the K-Wings was with the Chicago Blackhawks. And, being a big Red Wings fan, that was pretty difficult at the time. Luckily, the Red Wings and Blackhawks were in the same conference, and I got to see them play, at the United Center, I think 4 or 5 times while I was there. And I think the Red Wings won maybe 3 out of the 4. But the one game that the Blackhawks won, Patrick Kane was a rookie that year, actually, and he scored the shootout winner. I think it was over Hasek. So pretty cool. But to tie into that, one of my coolest moments, I've had a lot, but this one kind of stands out. We were running locker room tours for the Blackhawks during their draft party in the off season. And one of my tasks was to bring season ticket holders in and out of the locker rooms. And I remember, the Blackhawks had the first pick, and they picked Patrick Kane. We were down in the locker room, and it was the last tour of the day, and I was making sure everybody was out of the locker room because, they're fancy lockers, awesome little locker room in the United Center. And the whole coaching staff comes in. So Dennis Savard, I believe he's a Hall of Famer, but well-known name in the Blackhawks history and hockey in general. He came in and he asked me who I was and what my name was. I told him, Jason Kane, same exact spelling as Patrick. So he brought me into the coach's room, sat me down, talked to me for about like 5 to 10 minutes just about my career and with all the other coaches right after they made their number 1 draft pick. It's kind of cool to, that was one of my first, pro sports, working in professional sports, experience. And so thought that's what it was going to be like, the rest of the time. And, it's fun most of the time. There's a lot of hard work though, of course. So as others have talked about.
Yeah, well, and you work for the Blackhawks, as you said, in ticket sales. I have a similar experience working for the Minnesota Wild in ticket sales, and it's a lot different than working in minor league sports. And I'm going to ask you about, since you've been in ticket sales in minor league sports a lot longer than I've been in minor league sports. But things that stood out to me was, we had big organizational floor hockey tournaments where everybody would get in on this, and we'd have 8 teams of Wild employees that would play in these floor hockey games after work, sometimes during lunch hour. And it was, the team and the organization were all for it. I don't know if the Blackhawks did something similar, but, we can do a little bit of that fun stuff at the minor league level, but the staff is a lot smaller, so we can't really get an organized tournament together. We might be able to get a fun little game.
So when I was with Chicago, it was a weird situation because the owner of the Blackhawks, it's the Wirtz family, and they owned a couple business. They probably owned a bunch of businesses, but I know they owned a realty business and a liquor distributor, and they had offices downtown on Lakeshore Drive. So the inside sales staff, which I was a part of, and a few other support members were located downtown, which was awesome because on like the 18th floor of some high rise in downtown Chicago overlooking Lakeshore Drive, and and Navy Pier. But unfortunately, that meant our offices weren't at the United Center like the 75% of the rest of the staff. So didn't really get to spend much time with the rest of the staff outside of like our all staff meetings that we had. But so I don't quite know if they did anything. I don't think they're as loose as it is with a minor league team. I mean, the Blackhawks, if I had to guess at the time, you're talking 75 to 100 employees. We have 11 full-time employees, or maybe less now. So yeah, it's a lot different. A lot less responsibility. With the major league teams, you have your sales responsibilities, but you're not really into the marketing, the creative, like we kind of mix and match with our teams here. So it's definitely a lot less that you do with the major league teams compared to minor.
On the flip side, how unique is it, though, at the minor league level to have some of the relationships with our season ticket holders here in Kalamazoo, as opposed to it's a lot tougher to pull that off, with an NHL team that has 20,000 seats in its building. Here there's a lot of season ticket holders that have been around and supported the team longer than you and I have been involved with the team. Yeah. And here you have these relationships you've built with these season ticket holders throughout the years.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been with, this will be going into this year, this will be my 7th full season, 5 as the full-time sales manager, and then one season as an intern. So 7 seasons seems like a lot, but then there's some of our diehard season ticket holders, just to name a few, like Sue Richardson. I know she's been coming to games for 46 years now. Joanne and Jim. Thanks to Joanne for sending me all the Candy Crush lives. That's another thing that's kept me busy through the pandemic here. She's very reliable on that, which I appreciate. But yeah, I mean, some of our fans, they know a lot more about this team than any of us could ever imagine. We go to them on a lot of the history, a lot of the like, I wish we kept records on how long some of these people have been season ticket holders, even records on, certain things that happened in the 70s, 80s. It's tough with just the over, the turnover with our staff and over 40 plus years, people didn't really keep records over those years. Of course, there weren't computers to have a spreadsheet or a database on all that, and people aren't going to keep, papers or forms around with potentially sensitive information for 40 plus years. But yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot in my years, but I can only imagine some of these fans that have been there since the mid 70s and some of the things that this building's gone through. So a lot of stories I could only imagine.
You got to put up with the young bucks in the office, Michael Keel and Fletcher Myers. How do you do it? Do you feel like the office dad sometimes, or is it more like an?
Yeah, there was, I think, a 2-year window where I was called Papa in the office. I don't know if it was because I could grow one of the better beards on the staff, or I'm usually the guy that is driving the team van whenever we take some of our road trips. But yeah, I like it because I mean I was the same age when I was doing my inside sales with the Blackhawks, and then in minor league baseball doing sales. So hopefully I can give back some of my wisdom, being the older staff member on the sales team. One thing that I tell them, or at least I try to preach, is just to be yourself. Like I know when I get a sales call from somebody and they're overly, pushy, or you can sniff that out pretty quick. So for me, it's just being as honest, straightforward, and hopefully personable as you can with somebody, and let them make their decisions. I think as long as you're providing them with the correct information and the proper information, then leaving that decision up to them, and that's the way to go. And that's kind of what I teach those guys. And then of course it's funny when we or listen to music or something and they've never heard of like Dave Matthews Band or, Tupac, or trying to like Backstreet Boys. Some of these guys they're like talking to me about Travis Scott. I've never even heard of Travis Scott until maybe a year ago. I couldn't even tell you a song he sings, and they're like, "You don't know who Travis Scott is?" And I don't, unfortunately. So, I get a lot of grief for that too. That kind of stuff.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Ben Rohrman, who moved on to a great opportunity since the season ended. A lot of our fans know that. Some of his accounts might, but you might be the best person to speak on Ben. Having worked with him for a few years here, what you're going to miss most about having Benji in the office?
Yeah. Oh, Ben was very just even keel, calm person. Handled stress. Actually, it's funny. His first game as a full-time employee was maybe my most stressful game that we had to work, and he was right there by my side, helping me out with it. It was a Star Wars night. It was a lightsaber giveaway, and one thing we always struggle with is the amount of giveaways that we need for the fans, and then our season ticket holders, which are they're guaranteed the giveaways. So knowing exactly how many you have to have for the balance of the walk-up and the season tickets. We cut it really close. We had to be within, 100 max left over at the end of the game. I don't even know if we had any left over, but Ben was right there with me through the whole thing, and it just really showed his character, being able to handle, that stressful situation. But yeah, we're gonna miss Ben a lot. Ben was a great salesman. I know he's probably doing great in his new job too. Cool presence. He had some great nicknames that we gave him over the years. But yeah, we already miss him. It's weird because he left during the Zoom meetings or our virtual office now. So it's just kind of it was almost like a unsuitable send off. To not actually seeing him in the office for the last couple months of his time with the K-Wings. But that's life, of course, and hopefully it works out for him.
At least we got fantasy football now. We're all in the league together, or many of us are. So, and I'm fortunate to be a part of the league this year. One thing that impressed me about you guys in the sales department, and this is a compliment, is I've never seen a sales staff that's more in tune with what's going on with the hockey team, that cares about what the hockey team's doing, what the schedule looks like, who some of the players are that are on hot streaks. It's easy to have a disconnect there, and some of the teams I worked for before, the sales guys don't even know if we're playing when we have a road game or we play 3 games over the weekend in X, Y, and Z city. We come back and they're like, "Oh, you had games this weekend?" Well, yeah, the team played, and you guys know that stuff. You guys keep up to date with that. Is that just who we have working for the K-Wings, or is it something that you guys collectively have some fun with?
Yeah, I mean, we're all sports fans. I still think hockey's the number one sport as far as live. Watching it in person and on TV, it's awesome sport. But I mean, I check the elite prospects every day. I know I ask you questions of who we're getting. I'm trying to keep track of who's on the IR or why they're not in the lineup. I'm as invested as most of our fans. For as much as I'm watching 35, 36 games a season, and I'm finding myself at the ends of the games where we're glued to the ice for the last couple minutes, and there's been multiple times where I've thrown a fist bump in the air when they've scored in overtime, or just like let out a yell, high fives with the fans. Specifically our buddy Dan Lunger over there, and sits over in the end where the visitors shoot twice, but I know he always joins us in the tunnels over by the home end, because it's kind of like our good luck charm for the ends of games. So yeah, he's usually there with us, and the fans in that section, they all know, we're as invested as everyone else, and we take it, when we're losing, we take it personal. Like we want to win just as bad as the fans do. I think most of them know that. Obviously there's there's not much we can do as far as player personnel or anything like that. Our best, job is to fill the stands and try to make a competitive environment and give them a home team environment that scares some of these Comets and Walleye teams. And I think most of the big games, I'd assume that when the Comets are sitting on their end, and we got to sell out and people are going crazy, it's got to be it's got to get in their heads, I'm sure. And our players, they'll tell us. I know, like some of the jersey auctions, when we get a chance to interact with the players right after the game, and we've had a big crowd and a big win, they always tell us how much that helped them and how much they appreciate, the work that goes into that. So,
all right, let's get to golf, because I would say you're the best golfer in the front office, and this is a pretty recent sport that you've picked up. I mean, this isn't something you've been doing your whole life, but I would say, for lack of a better term, you're obsessed with the sport. When did you pick it up?
Yeah, it's funny because I would say Ben, right? Ben, when he left, that may have solidified my spot as the best golfer. Ben has been playing a lot longer, and he's probably, I would say he's a little more consistent, maybe a little bit better than I am, but I've caught up to him, and I've probably got him about half the times now. But I would say it started about 4 or 5 years ago. Actually, Joe Roberts, you of course know him well, and he
Excellent
was
golfer.
great golfer. So we would go out a lot, and he would give me, tips, try to help me out. And, I was shooting in like the low 100s, and I always knew that golf was something that I would take serious one day. I was big into like competitive slow pitch softball. I was a big baseball player, through high school and growing up. So I knew the swings kind of didn't really align. Everybody told me, if you're playing softball and then you went to try to, play golf, your swing would be horrible. And I saw it for, the first year or two. And then another thing too is we joined an outing to represent the K-Wings, and I think it was like the summer of 2016, and we were the worst team. In a scramble, you should shoot close to par with 4 people shooting the ball. I think we were at least 15 over, and I may have been one of the better ones, which was rough. So at that point, I went out. I spent some money on some golf clubs. I've dedicated a lot of time into watching it, reading about it, bought a bunch of books. So it's a cool sport as far as like you start to see improvements, and that gets you even more hooked. I keep track of like all my scores so I can see like exactly what I've done, and so my analytical side comes out, and I think that only drives me further to get better at it. And I still have a chance at the senior tour. So I got 15, about 14 years to improve my game enough to get out there and play against a 60-year-old Tiger Woods. So
rapid fire related to golf. Favorite course you've ever played, bucket list course that you want to play, and if you could have an ideal golf foursome with 3 celebrities, who would they be?
That's tough. I would say my favorite course outside my 2 local courses I got to give a shout out to that I love. Millam, of course, which at least half our office is in the league on Tuesday nights out there, and also a sponsor of the team. So they're awesome at Millam. They keep the courts in great shape. And then Heritage Glen, which I couldn't do an interview about golf without mentioning the hole-in-one, which I've talked about multiple times by now.
You have company now in the office, by the way. Mitch McLeod, the equipment manager, had the hole-in-one, and
really?
us are perplexed.
Where at? Do you know where it was?
I don't know, but there is enough evidence and proof and witnesses to make it stand. So,
yeah. So
back to your story.
Is nice, is really nice. But Arcadia Bluffs, up in near like Frankfurt, just south of Crystal Lake, Beulah area there. Beautiful course. It's overlooking Lake Michigan. Uh, it's just really cool how they built it into like the side of the hill or side of a bluff there. Highly recommend. I know it's expensive, but me and my wife made a trip there. Played it in May. Maybe the worst weather I've ever golfed in, but still stood out to me. And then bucket list course, I would have to say Pebble Beach, of course. My wife is actually from Monterey Peninsula. She grew up there, so she grew up about 10 minutes from Pebble Beach and, all the other courses that they got on that, little peninsula there. And we had actually checked out the 18th or went to the 18th green and just looked at it. Pro tip here, if you're ever in that area, you get a local newspaper and you cut out a garage sale posting of one of the Pebble Beach neighborhood because it's private. You can't get in without a reason. And you show the guard, hey, we're here to check out a garage sale. So you get into the neighborhood or the gated community there, and you can go to Pebble Beach. And I think I grabbed a scorecard, and a pencil and of course never play it though until I save up $1,000 or whatever it may be. But then I would say, with a foursome of golf, I would have to go with Phil Mickelson. Only reason is because he really impressed me in that latest primetime matchup they had with Tiger and Phil and Tom Brady and Manning. He's a really cool guy. It seems like he'd teach you a lot about your game. He'd be willing to work with you. I would go with Larry David. Seinfeld's my favorite show of all time.
I'm big on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh yeah, that too. It's up there with me. Larry's a big golfer. If you watch the shows, he's always out golfing. He talks about it a lot. He's just a funny guy. I'd imagine just 5 minutes with that guy is probably a pretty interesting round. And then fourth, I don't know. I'll take my wife maybe. She hates it when I mention it, but she golfed at Kalamazoo College, and I'm trying to get her to golf more. It's kind of tough with having a 1-year-old and then also another baby on the way. So my golfing probably is going to be limited next season. So that's why I'm trying to get as much of it out of the way as possible. Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way. I tried to put on my surprise face, but spoiler alert, I kind of already heard the exciting news for you guys. So congratulations. What's it like? What's your favorite thing about being a dad? Julianne's adorable.
Yeah, she's fun. And I knew this was going to be the case for me. The first 6 months was tough. Whether it be just an adjustment to, not caring as much about yourself, and babies, that early age, they don't really communicate back with you much. The last 3 months. So Julianne's a month or a year and a month about. Actually, a little over a year and a month now. But last 3 months or so, it's been really rewarding. She's starting to kind of say things. She's starting to learn how to walk, and I've been taking her on bike rides. I got this little seat in the back of my bike that I can put her on. It's just really cool to see their development. And then I'm looking forward to, things I wouldn't do myself, like going into a, like a pumpkin patch and picking up a pumpkin or something. Like I wouldn't do that by myself, but now I have or go to a zoo. Like everybody wants to go to a zoo, but they don't when it's two adults usually. It's just, now I have a good excuse to do things, that brings out the kid in me. So yeah, it's awesome.
You're also a big baseball diehard, so rapid fire. Who's your team, and who would you consider the biggest rival of your team?
Yeah, so I'm a big Tigers fan. I'm a huge Detroit sports fan. I stick with them all. I think I've never seen such a down era of Detroit sports. Minnesota fan here, so you at least have some things to root for right now. The Twins are somewhat legit, and the Vikings are actually, they win playoff games, which would be pretty cool to see. Tigers, it's funny because I grew up about 45 minutes west of Kalamazoo. I grew up in Stevensville, and we actually got Chicago sports on the home TV. And almost all my friends were Chicago sports fans. So growing up, I despised Chicago sports teams, and mainly the Cubs because everybody loved the Cubs. But as I kind of got older and realized, they didn't really affect what the Tigers needed to do. I think the White Sox became that team.
So
But I couldn't really
agree.
say. I was a huge Frank Thomas fan, though, so it was hard to root against them. And we actually went to probably more White Sox Tigers games at Comiskey than we did Detroit Tigers games in Detroit. So I kind of like them, but now not so much.
Yeah, the White Sox became that villain team for me during the AJ Pierzynski era, especially being a Twins fan, and Pierzynski used to be the Twins. How old were you when the Tigers won the '85 World Series, if you don't mind sharing? Because I was 1 day old when the Twins won the '87 World Series.
Okay.
My father-in-law, who's also a big Tigers fan, doesn't like that memory so much in the lead up to the Twins World Series win, but he'd be happy to share how excited he was in '85.
Well, so it was 84, I believe, and I was
84. See?
yeah, 84.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot the Royals were 85.
I was 7 months old. So I was born in 84. I was born in March of 84, so I didn't even get a chance to really enjoy that one. I don't think. I do have 2 older brothers. I'd imagine they got a little bit more out of that one than I did. It's funny because I started a little tradition of collecting a pennant of every Detroit sports championship since I've been born. So I have the '84 pennant because technically I was alive at the time. But there's been the Red Wings had their little run. The Pistons had a couple there. Unfortunately, there hasn't been much since I think 2009. I think was the last Detroit sports victory. So there's a big gap on my wall. There's no Detroit Lions.
Hey, this Minnesota guy though, I have to go back to '91 and '87 since we've had any championships.
That's the last time. Ugh.
I know. Last one was '91. The Kirby Puckett era. Yeah, he was one of my favorites. My family in Kansas City, I have family in Kansas City. They're cringing right now because I said '85 when obviously the Tigers won it in '84, and it was who won it in '85. So I've already ticked off 2 fan bases.
Yeah, well, you got like the '85 Bears. That's a big. '85 must have been a good year for the Midwest. The Bears, Royals. Who knows who won it in hockey that year?
Taking a hard left turn here, but I didn't realize you were a big astronomy guy till this morning with your knowledge of the planets and the solar system and different things going on in the sky.
I love that kind of stuff. I'm a curious person, so I try to learn a little bit about everything. One of my favorite, probably the coolest things I've ever seen. I had to be maybe 18 years old. It was maybe 3 a.m. in the morning. I think my brothers, who are much older than me, were just getting home from the bar at the time, and I'm sitting at home I think I'm sleeping, or maybe about to be sleeping or something, and they got me up and they're like, "Hey, you got to come out and see this." It was the Northern Lights. For anybody that hasn't seen that, if you ever have the opportunity, if you have to drive all the way to way up there in Canada or whatever you got to do, it's really cool to see. I don't know if it was just a phenomenon that day, but it was as clear as can be. It was bright green and purple, and it was heat lightning, and it was amazing. So ever since then, I've just kind of been hooked on that sort of thing. For any astronomers out there or amateur astronomers, there's an app called Night Sky, which is really cool. You kind of look stupid, but you stand up and you hold it up to the sky, and it tells you what each of the planets and moon and stars that you can see. They also tell you, where the moon is or the sun is in relation to where you're at during the night. So, like last night, the reason I came up this morning, I was trying to see the shooting stars that are going on this week, and unfortunately, I did not see anything, but I may have seen a UFO. So,
oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I'd like to see a UFO. I'm just imagining.
Life in quarantine. For a while there, barbershops were closed, and I don't know if they still are. I know they opened up briefly. I got to get back into the swing of things because obviously I'm looking for a new barber at this point.
I think
it's become more of an experiment to see how bad it can get before the season starts. You just shaved your head outright at one point.
Yep. No, I mean, what you're doing is what I'd rather. I'd rather be able to grow a nice full head of hair. Being the senior sales manager on the staff, unfortunately that senior aspect is showing in my hairline and spot up there. Unfortunately, my wife's short, so she can't see the top of my head or anything. Yeah, I think it was like maybe a month into the quarantine, I just decided what better time just to fuzz my hair. I had done it one other time in my life by accident. I was trying to, I think, save a few dollars. I was working in minor league baseball, so money was tight, and I ended up I think I took a huge chunk out of the side. I just ended up shaving it, but it's refreshing. I'm not quite there yet. I don't think I'm gonna make the jump yet, but when I do, I think I'd be okay with it. So.
Another quarantine hobby of mine has been P90X, the workout DVD thing. Yeah. I have like 3 series, and I'm 8 weeks in, and my body's just hating me right now. I'm so sore. But I think you said you've done it before, and you're a big Tony Horton.
Hats off to you, because that's not easy. Especially, I mean, Tony Horton he's another guy that I could potentially throw into a golf foursome. I don't know how, he'd probably be yelling at you the whole time, but that guy, as he says, you love to hate him. He's very motivational, but it's an awesome program. There's 3 of them. I think he had P90X 1, 2, and 3. The first one was a little extreme. The second and third one, a little more, doable. It's been years since I've done it, unfortunately. I like to, what the only downside to the P90X is you're in front of a TV indoors usually. So right now is the time to, get on a bike, go out running, do stuff outside. But I mean, I definitely need to join you on that. I would highly recommend it.
I can't believe Tony Horton was 52 years old when they filmed the second DVD series. That's what amazes me. It's down to the last handful of questions. So I have a couple rapid fire ones. What sport requires the most athleticism in your eyes? Now, in my blog, I said soccer. I actually have a different answer, but I want to hear yours first.
Okay. I'm going to say hockey, honestly. And that's just not me saying it because, we work in hockey. I've played almost every sport. We play hockey, out on the ice when we get a chance to during the season when there's some downtime. Not the best skater. I can stay on my feet usually. But those guys, like how fast they're going, the boards aren't soft, and they're getting trying to get pushed off their feet by other guys that are going, really fast. So, and you got to keep your head up and control the puck. There's so many elements to hockey, and they don't get much of a break. I mean, look at football. Like, football's tough. I couldn't imagine being like an old lineman and having to block some of those guys, but they're only doing it, for 10 plays for 20 minutes at a time, if that, and they get so many breaks. But these hockey players, they're going hard for 20 minutes, and changing lines every minute and a half. It's not easy, and goaltenders too. Like, guys. I know my answer. A fan actually inspired this after I posted the blog. I got to change my answer to gymnastics. Okay.
sport is unbelievably difficult. I can't imagine even attempting it. I got to say, you have to be pretty athletic and pretty strong to be able to do gymnastics. Another one, watching this in the Olympics every winter that the Olympics is on, the snowboard half pipe.
Okay.
You guys are unbelievable. I can't even.
Curling. Put curling
Yeah.
up.
Couple more quick ones. Favorite sports moment of all time?
Yeah, I would have to. Oh man, so I'll keep it short. But I was at the 2006 Detroit Tigers walk-off to take them the World Series over the A's. I wasn't in the stadium. It's kind of a long story on why I wasn't in the stadium. I was meeting up with my brother to scout tickets for that game, and our plans kind of fell through. So I was there by myself, and I was in college at the time, and I think the cheapest ticket I could find was like $125 for, way up there. Obviously I should have done it now, but I watched the whole game standing in a, standing room only packed Hockey Town cafe right across the street. But I had a TV, right up here, and right, through the glass was, Comerica Park. So I felt like I was in the building. It was as close as you could get without, actually having a ticket. And just like how the pride you felt in, being a Tigers fan, walking the streets after that game, people were happy. It was just a cool experience. That was one of them. That's definitely up there. So.
You mentioned the downturn with Detroit sports and being a diehard Detroit sports fan right now. Who will be the next Detroit sports team to win a championship?
That's an awesome question. It's hard to. I mean, honestly, I think they're all at the bottom of the barrel. I would hate to. If anybody had an edge, I would say the Lions. But then you're talking about them actually winning a championship and winning a playoff game. I've seen some crazy things happen to the Lions. I believe my thought is that Lions fans are like an experimental fan base, and we're in some type of like Truman Show reality where the NFL is testing out certain like rules and fan reactions to certain outcomes of games on the Lions fan base. So I would say they'll never win it. Just for that pure fact. I'm going to go Tigers just because they have some exciting prospects. They do a pretty good job of competing. I know, the no salary cap there. I think the Illich family is willing to put some money into the Tigers going back to, a World Series. So as hard as it is to say with how bad they are right now, they're showing promise. And actually, they're second in the AL Central right now, so it's not too far fetched that this might be a miracle team. So
final two, your staff, the ticket department, won the Ticket Department of the Year award at the ECHL front office award show this year. You've been a nominee as a finalist for individual awards several times. To win it as a team this year for year-over-year growth, what was the reaction? What did that mean?
Yeah, it's awesome. I see the hard work we put in. We take it very seriously. We have a lot of fun doing it though too, which you can't not have fun working in the sports industry. It's the old nature of it. If you're not, then you shouldn't be in the industry, really. We really do care about, filling the stands. We care about our fans. Sometimes it's hard to make every single person happy, but we do what's best for the majority, we hope. But I know, these guys, like these younger guys, it means a lot to them. Last year, Michael Keel was nominated for the Rookie of the Year singles guy. This year was Fletcher. Fortunately, we didn't win any of those, but I mean, just to be nominated for those, positions, there's, 5 or 6 nominees, and, probably close to 100, sales rookies or, a lot of them in our league. So it's an honor for them. But to win it as a team, that's just not the sales department. That goes to, your role as the broadcaster and media relations and public relations. Tim, of course, does a great job bringing fans in. Our marketing team, Tony, managing all of us. At times I can only imagine it gets a little crazy. She's in more meetings than we are, in a day, than we are in a week at times. So hats off to her and everything that she does. And of course, Kelly's doing everything behind the scenes. She's as much a part of the sales staff as anyone else is. And then our ticket team, everybody there, and the ticket team does a lot, processing everything, and they're the unsung heroes in it. And then of course Michael McFadden with the game ops, in conjunction with what Tim does. Like our game presentations as good as any, and we're doing it in a building that's 47 years old. Some of us would probably love to have what Toledo has in their Huntington Center, or some of the other teams in our league that are playing in some of these major league stadiums. But yeah, I mean, our team works hard, so really that's hats off to every single one of them for that.
Well said. I'd like to say we're a well-oiled machine. My final question: are you living your dream job, or what is your dream job?
Yeah, owning a sports card store. My dream is if somehow that trend comes back, and I had this little corner store, in Kalamazoo somewhere, or wherever it may be, and I'm talking to guys about trading cards. No, that's probably not my dream job right now. Honestly, I know it'll never happen, but when you're saying dream, it would definitely be on the senior PGA tour one day. That would be. I mean, what a life those guys live. They do a lot of traveling to the most beautiful parts of the world in the most beautiful times to be there, and they play golf. So
I love how we just brought this conversation back to the circle.
also started
You're
with
the man. This was a blast. We could have gone on for another hour, but thanks so much for doing this. Looking forward to seeing you on the course soon, and hopefully in the office soon as well. But until then, say hi to the family, and congratulations on the exciting news.
Yeah, thanks, JB. Or say hi to your family as well, and then we'll be seeing you. And I know I may not be as interesting as an all-time goaltending winner, or a Bootland with the Colonial Cup championship, but I got a lot of those crazy life stories too, and I'm an amateur astronomer too. So I don't know if those guys have that under their belt, but yeah, I appreciate it.
It's a pretty impressive resume. Jason Kane, everybody. Back with more next week on Just Winging It.